Shalom Israel. Welcome back to an edition of World History According to the Bible. My name is SHAMAR, and tonight we are going to be going into the truth about MLK, Martin Luther King. The truth about MLK. So, might be, well, what truth? And, it's kind of like the question of, what was there? It's not a conspiracy. It's not a scandal. It's not some type of attack on personal character. It's according to the scriptures, where does what he taught, where does what he gave to the people as a means to be able to lead, where does that all fit into scripture? Does it fit into scripture? You read the actual speech, I think was about like 17 minutes, right? We're not going to get all of that. But you read about a lot of the things that he was saying, right? He had and everyone knows the infamous, I have a dream. He says, and I'm just going to read a couple of excerpts from the actual speech itself. It says, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So the first thing is, he already said he bought in heavily to the American dream. That's what they're constantly preaching. That's what a lot of our people are motivated by. You grow up in poverty. You grow up, where it's rough. You see a lot of the disadvantages that you're faced with, and they're constantly feeding our people this dream. You're special. You're somebody. You can be anything. Okay. But then you're special, but not special enough to be above rules or be given special treatment or just being put into a position. You have to already have someone who's willing to give you a ride to do that. Well, you can be anything, but you have to squeeze yourself into, being a measure of a man in order to fit into the system. So he was very heavily he had very heavily bought into the American dream. And what he was teaching other people is that he was like, maybe we can really get America to do right by us. Maybe all these things that they say, we can really hold them to, and it could be a great thing. We grew up with that, right? We grew up with the whole everybody's created equal, never mind slavery, never mind the hood and the ghettos and the red lines and the police, but we're all created equal. And they're constantly feeding that to us, right? They're constantly feeding that everybody should be equal and nobody should have special treatment. But why is it that people have that special treatment? But first and foremost, that's not even what the Most High said. Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So first and foremost, we're not all equal. That's what America has preached. And if I was the underdog, I would be saying the same thing. Esau has pushed that to us, right? Because the Most High said that he hates Esau. He said that lest there be any profane or fornicator as Esau. It's highlighted. Out of all the things that the heathen do, Esau is always being highlighted as being extra heathenistic, extra profane, extra unclean. So, and then it's no surprise that them being the furthest thing from the Most High, they're constantly trying to teach, well, we're all equal. We should all be treating each other a certain way. We're all the human race. All these different things. And the unfortunate reality is MLK, among many of our people, bought into this. He says, I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. So he keeps talking about this big dream that he has and how he hopes that this can be implemented in America. But let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 18. Because when the Most High, first and foremost, not everybody in Israel was a leader. You see that in the scriptures. You had people that were set up. You had people that were set up to be judges. My test. You had people that were set up to be judges. You had people that were set up as specific leaders. So it's not that everybody in Israel is even made to lead and is going to have the Most High the way that the Most High has chosen do. For example, you see that King David, King Saul, you see that they were anointed kings. They weren't just set up. They were actually chosen. And a prophet would be sent to them saying, look, you're who the Most High chose. They would put oil upon him and anoint him so that all of Israel would know that this is the Lord's chosen. So with that, the scriptures give you a specific way of not only what the leader should do, what they should have, whether or not you should fear them, pretty much the criteria, right? We're going to go through that. Deuteronomy chapter 18, we're going to start at verse 18. It says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them that all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. So when you have, all these people, how many people do we even see today on a regular basis? God told me to tell you. Look at your neighbor and tell him that the Lord, look at this and look at that. It's like everybody claims to have a special connection with God. All in the slums, all in the hood, all in the worst of the worst predicaments and conditions. Everybody is saying that they can talk to God and got him on speed dial. Anytime they pray, they bow their heads, God is listening. That's been a common thing. But the Most High said, when you speak in words that I haven't told you to speak, it's a false prophet speaking a word in my name. He said, when I haven't sent you, the penalty is death. So all these prophets at all these churches, all these people that claiming that they have this special connection and they have never known the Most High, he said they're worthy of death because you're misleading the people. Think about, right, the mentality of Israel. We get excited when somebody says, man, imagine if you walk down the street and was like, man, I know Drake. I can call Drake right now. He'll answer the phone. Everybody would be excited. Who wouldn't be your friend at that point? You can call Drake. You can FaceTime him, and he's going to answer. Everybody's going to want an opportunity. Women going to try to shoot their shot. Other rappers trying to get put on. Everybody just wants access because he's a powerful person. How much more if you say, I know God? Whoa, I know the Most High. I can pray, and something's going to happen. And you see in the scriptures that the prophets, there were chosen who were able to do that. You see where prophets called down fire. You see where prophets or how Moses was able to perform miracles before Pharaoh. You see these things are possible. So when someone's claiming, I know God, it's like, oh, man, I at least got to hear this person out. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 16. But let's see. Let's see what all these things mean. All these prophets, all these self-proclaimed prophets, all these dreamers of dreams, all these diviners. Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 16, it said, for the leaders of this people cause them to err, meaning to go into error. How often have we been misled by so-called leaders? Excuse me. Now it's so bad, they make celebrities and athletes the leaders. You don't have to have a political background. You don't even have to have a moral conduct or code, not a God that you serve. There's nothing in common between all these so-called leaders, but they have notoriety. And so because they have notoriety, they have a lot of what? Followers. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all these people, all these different platforms, they allow you to do what? They allow you to have access to a whole bunch of people all at the same time. Anytime these celebrities be going live, it'd be hundreds of thousands of people tuning in at the same time. Let me see what they gonna say. Let me see what they gonna do. Let me see what they talking about. They might not be doing anything. They rolling up weed in the studio, but it's 300,000 people that want to be there. 300,000 people who want to listen into that conversation. 300,000 people, if not millions. Oftentimes it gets up into the millions. Let Drake, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, let somebody big go live. It's going to be millions of people watching, just listening. And then when you hit that button, you do what? You're following that person. You're subscribing to what it is that they subscribe to. They post a picture of a dinner. You want to go there for dinner. Hey, they post a picture of some steak and shrimp. You know what? Tonight, I'm thinking surf and turf. You're not thinking surf and turf. You saw it. And now because you're following this person, you're subscribing to this person, you want to be like that person. So you're trying to do what they're doing. So that's why he said the leaders of this people cause them to err. Look at all these self-proclaimed leaders. Look at who the so-called black and brown community has to call on: celebrities, athletes. Uh, Very rarely is it ever politicians, someone who at least claims to be in government. He said, "For the leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed." How often is there a positive outcome out of all these leaders, these sects that come up, right? These different sections of people. How often is it a positive outcome? Oftentimes it gets debunked, it gets derailed, it implodes, right? And it's the leaders of this people, the leaders of our people are what causes us to err. The Most High calls us, or commonly calls us, two things. He calls us the children of Israel, and he calls us the lost sheep. Sheep follow what? They follow a shepherd. We're herd animals, right? We have a herd mentality. We stick together. So whatever it is, that's why it's so easy, because we talk about tribal, right? That's why it's so easy for us to buy into these things, because we've always been that way. We had our tribes, we had our section, and it was kind of like, if you from here, you this. You know, if you Manasseh, you at this part of Israel. You from Judah, you from here. You from Simeon, you from. So it's no shock now. It's like, well, 64th, 63rd, blood, Crip, this, that. It's no shock, because our people are already tribal. And so that's why we have to have reasonable, not even just reasonable, but just leaders leading us. Otherwise, what the leaders are doing, the people are going to do. And when the leaders are causing the people to err, the people are going to be in error as well. Or rather, when the leaders are in error, the people are going to be in error. Let's go to Acts chapter 5. So out of all the things, the first thing he said was, be careful as to how you speak and on what you speak. Because the Most High said, if you speaking in my name and I didn't send you, you shall be put to death. Then he said, because the leaders are causing this people to err. Acts chapter 5, we're going to read verse 38 and 39. Verse 38, it says, "Now I say unto you, refrain from these men and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught." So they were speaking about others that they had seen preaching. And they were trying to ask, they was like, man, what are we supposed to do? He said, nah, don't worry about it. Leave them alone. Because if it's of men, it's not going to stand anyway. The Most High is not going to be there. They might have some things get going. They might have some momentum. They might look a certain way. But he said, ultimately, it's not going to last. It's not going to have any real life, any real strength behind it, because the Most High is not behind it. So when you see all these different, leaders that have come up over the years, MLK, the Panthers, the Berets, all these different groups that have come up. And so many of them have been debunked, have been destroyed. Now they're talking about the new Black Panther Party. You see them here and there, and I haven't really seen them at all. Nowhere near the influence of the first Black Panther Party, nowhere near the pool, nowhere near the resources. All these things that have been of men in an attempt to get our people to rise up, in an attempt to save our people, they've come to naught because they weren't of the Most High. And when you look back, oftentimes it was a lack of the keeping the commandments that destroys them. They betraying one another, they selling each other out for money, they killing, they stealing. All these things are against the laws of the Most High. So all these organizations that come up, because they're not practicing the law, that's what causes them to fall. They don't have that moral conduct. They don't have that law amongst them to be able to guide their actions. They don't have that. So it ends up being the preferences of men as it was led of men. So Paul was telling them, he was like, look, if it's not of the Most High, don't even worry about it. It's going to get destroyed. It's going to be dethroned. It's going to get debunked. He says, but if it be of God, ye cannot overthrow it, lest happily ye be found to fight against God. So he said, man, but if it's of the Most High, you better not be against it, because it's ultimately, you're really not even fighting against this movement. You're fighting against the Most High. So when you see all these leaders that have come up, and now they're no longer around to be found, not just through death, but oftentimes through, having their movement scattered, was it of men or of the Most High? It was of men. And you have so many of them that have tried, so many different methods. Some are all passive and docile. Some are about affirmative action and violence. Some were, mutual or tried to play both sides, but none of them have been able to actually rise our people out of captivity, or even get our people to a place that we have been better off. Oftentimes, when that group gets destroyed, it breaks off. Then you have a whole bunch of groups of unguided people, a whole bunch of groups of what they call like a Ronin, a samurai without a master. You have people who are capable, but they don't have any guidance. So now they just have all this skill and this mentality, and they have nowhere to, no one that's really there to steer them. Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 8. So ultimately, what MLK was talking about, all these things that he spoke on, all these things that he was about, it was of men. Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20, it says, to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Not only do they call him, oftentimes they call him Dr. Martin Luther King, right? But he was actually a reverend. And this article by NPR refers to him as Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. So it's not just about, he was just a brother out of, one of these hoods that he was trying to lead, and he saw the gripes and plights of the community and wanted to try to help. He was a pastor, a reverend. So he already has a congregation, a group, and a body of people that he's leading, preaching to, giving scripture. Where was it all as far as when he actually got the masses gathered? It was never about, thus saith the Lord. It was never about, this is what we see happening to Egypt, so America better. It was never that. It was always, he had a philosophy. He had an opinion. He had, even to some measure, hope, but he put his hope and his trust in the wrong thing. He put his hope in America. Let's go to Colossians real quick. Let's see. We're going to get Colossians chapter 2. Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. It says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. First and foremost, I always find this fascinating because spoil means to rob. So he says, be careful lest anybody rob you through philosophy and vain deceit. You think, well, how does that work? We're the chosen, right? I'm not going to say it's no shock, but it's no secret at this point. We are literally the chosen of God. The way you have a favorite color, a favorite cousin, a favorite hairstyle, favorite whatever, the Most High has a favorite people. Out of all his creations, he said, you know what? This is the nation of people that I choose. They're going to be my servants. I'm going to be their God. That's how the Most High is moving with Israel. And then when you have, MLK and these other false prophets who have risen up saying that all men are equal, you got devalued. You've been robbed. Imagine if there was $1 million and there was, let's just say there was a case. One of them had $1 billion in it, a billion with a B, and the other one had $100 in it, but it was all in singles. So he's saying, look, man, we all created equal. It don't matter what's in the case, man. You know what I'm saying? We just supposed to be humans. How much is that going to take away from what you have been given? How much is that going to take away from what's yours? We're not all equal, free to roam the land and live on this earth as we see fit. The Israelites were meant to rule the earth. Then we can create the borders and the boundaries, ruled by the authority of the Most High and Yahweh Shai through the law. That's literally our position in this earth. But we've been constantly given the philosophy of the human race. We're all equal. It's all the same. We're all, we all bleed red blood and all these different things that all these other nations who don't have the value that we have been constantly embedding into our minds from our youth to get us to see ourselves the same as them. But we're not. That's just the reality. We're not the same. Then when you see the vileness of humans, you might say, well, damn, am I vile? But then when you realize we're a holy and separate people, we don't live like everybody else. Everything about Israel is supposed to be different. The days that we celebrate, right? The way that we dress, the way that we eat, the way that we deal with one another. Even our land is going to look different because every 7 years, there's a law where when you're growing crops, you let the land rest for the 7th year. It's, the year of Jubilee every 50 years. You see all these things that are so different from the way that the rest of the nations are living. And look how the nations have dealt with the earth since they've been in power, right? You have, all these genetic splicings with the food. You have people that are coming out with mental disabilities, physical disabilities, deformities, all because they're not letting the land rest. It's not yielding as much. Because it doesn't yield as much, but they're constantly, the population is constantly growing. Everybody's trying to figure out how they're going to produce more food. So they injecting, DNA. They injecting chemicals. They're trying all these different biochemical processes to be able to increase the food. Never mind the genetic effect that it's having. So then the food has no nutrition. You just see all these different things. It's a trickle-down effect, and it goes all the way down from every aspect of how a man lives to how he thinks to what he eats. All of these things should be governed by the law. But because our people are not invested in the law, we're invested in philosophy, we've given the law up. So the very thing that made us special and connected us with our God, we've lost because we want to be like the other nations, right? And we've always fallen into that pit, and it always has bitten us in the behind. You read earlier in the scriptures how our people wanted a king. Most High was like, y'all don't need a physical king. I'm going to be your king. Yahweh Shai was, is our physical king. He's the King of Kings. We have a leader and we have a God, but our people desired to have one of us to be a king risen up from amongst us, and we get robbed. So now it's a whole nother order established. Now everybody bringing their gripes to the king. King can't forgive, or rather a physical king, a king of man, he can't forgive sins. He can't heal infirmities. Yahweh Shai could. But he was like, don't worry about it. They didn't reject you, they rejected me. But that's how this philosophy and this vain deceit spoils us. It robs us of what makes us a special people. It says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. That has not been what we've been called to do. That has not been, how we've been told to serve, or the value that the Most High has already given us. But lo and behold, we listen to these other nations. They'll put all these things in your head. They'll let you walk away with all this, new understanding, so they call it, with this new age doctrine, all these things that we are led to believe, and then you get robbed. Whereas you should have walked away knowing you were special. Now you walk away feeling like you like everybody else, because all men are created equal. Let's go to Lamentations. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 17. It says, as for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. That's what MLK was preaching. He was like, basically, when you read his speech, he's basically saying, I believe in America. He's basically saying, I still think that it's possible. Look at everything that we talked about, but it wasn't what we talked about. We were enslaved, right? We were enslaved at the foundation of America. It's breaking off from Britain. We were enslaved past that time. And now, even though we don't have the chains upon our necks, we're still in captivity. We're still forced to work. You cannot live off the land the way our forefathers did. You can't go and find a patch of land and say, okay, this is mine. Even if you drive north out of the cities, you'll just find miles and miles of a gate. Mountains on the right side, mountains on the left side, as far as the eye can see, but you'll see a gate that covers all of it. And it'll be government property. It isn't like you can just go dig a well or go, you have to get that permission. And most of the times, the only ways you can get permission to be able to claim uninhabited land is if you have money. So we're still a captive to this nation, still paying taxes. Some brothers try to argue that I got my own business, I'm an entrepreneur, I ain't subject to the, yes, you are, bro. Because as soon as it's time for you to pay taxes, you're going to have to pay taxes. When you look at your money, it's not your people. When you look at, how things are established, you have no say. And then if you speak up too much, and especially at the wrong place, the wrong time, it could cost you your life or your freedom. How is that not captive? Our people in the scriptures that during the time of Christ were in captivity. They weren't in ball and chain, but they were subject unto Caesar. They were living under the ideologies and under the authority of the Romans. So everything that they were doing, the money, he said, whose inscription is this? It's Caesar's. So render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. They were living based off of their laws and their governments, based off of their judgments. That's why they called for Christ to be crucified. You don't see a crucifixion in the scriptures as far as a judgment for breaking the law, but you see it under Rome, right? So all of our people had bought into the ideology of a Roman lifestyle, no different than what we're experiencing here in America. And they hated the truth speakers, and they hated Christ, or, Yahweh Shai, whom the world knows as Christ, because he came in and was getting our people back to the law, overthrowing, the ideologies and vain hopes that we had been given. He says, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. That's why he said, we've watched for a nation that cannot help us. It's been over and over and over. We've constantly tried to petition to America. We've done the marching over and over. And it's crazy because our people are back to marching. MLK, the civil rights era, they was doing all kind of things. We just gonna go in here and sit down at this whites only restaurant and see what happens. Getting socked all in the side of the head, but turn the other cheek. They getting hosed by the fire department. They're getting bit by dogs. They're being led all in the hopes that America is going to see the plights of the so-called Negro, the black and the brown, and they're going to finally have the compassion that all of our people have been hoping would be extended to us, and it never happened. People marched for how long was the civil rights movement? For how long was that the main point, or what everybody was dedicated to? How long? Our people marched. We had the signs. We did the chants. We were peaceful, and it was met with violence. Went on for years. Then we started to get some rights. Our people got comfortable. Then crack hit. All these other things that started to affect our communities, and now we're right back to marching, right back to suffering injustice, right back to pleading with our captives, or rather with our oppressors, hoping for freedom. He says, as for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. And our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. What were they doing during that time that was so criminal? To say we just want to be able to come where it's nice, be able to spend money to do these things. And it's crazy because Esau finally caught on. They was like, look, we in bad shape. Whites only, it's 20 whites only restaurants in town. It's, half the population is Negro. He's like, we need this black money. Then they finally ended up allowing the integration, but we'll get to that in a minute. He says they hunt our steps. What were they doing? Oftentimes it was nonviolent. What do we do now when we leave the house and police be on you? They hunting our steps. It says that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 14. Get back to these prophets. Chapter 14, we're going to read 14 through 16. Jeremiah 14 and 14, he said, then the Lord said unto me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination. He said, look, the Most High was already telling us, don't listen to these prophets. This is not who I sent. Don't listen to, what they're telling you. Because here's the crazy part, right? Because, again, he was a reverend. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is part of the I have a dream speech. This is the transcript. So all that he was saying, he like, man, the Lord is, we're going to all see it together, and we're going to be, the crooked places are going to be made straight and all these things. And again, he's a reverend. So before he had the masses in television, guess what? He was delivering this message with the word, right? In his church, in his congregation, preaching to people in that way. And because he's a reverend, and he's talking about how he sees this vision for America, and he sees this vision for our people all in the name of God, and he throw in a little crooked ways shall be made straight. You throw in a little rough places will be made plain, and the glory of the Lord, and everybody's about to lose it. He throw in a little bit of that. They're like, oh, he's like a prophet. No, but he's prophesying lies in the name of the Most High. Most High never said for us to be in one accord or be joined unto the heathen. The Most High never said for all of us to be in the land of our captivity and to be content with being subservient. He's not telling us to do that. He said, look, we're supposed to be keeping the commandments. And he said, once you start keeping the commandments, I'll turn your captivity. So that's always been our goal. That's always been our starting point when it comes to trying to get out of captivity, waking the people up. What are we doing now? Teaching and preaching, hoping that, those that are sealed are reached by the word, or rather knowing that those that are sealed will be reached by the word, and that will be the time for us to be delivered. We doing the same thing now. And there's still false prophets, right? There's still false prophets amongst us that sprinkle in and season in a little, the Lord said, and God told me to tell you. But he said they're prophesying lies in my name. It said, then the Lord said unto me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination. This whole dream that he had. It's a false vision. Most High not giving you that dream. Scriptures talk about, I believe in Sirach. It talks about, I'm not exactly sure, I believe it's around 50. But he talks about he that regards dreams as a fool if they're not sent from the Most High. So for MLK and, all of the dreams that he was having, and look at all this, that the Lord has given unto me, he was like, man, I'm not sending you that. You're a fool for hearkening unto that dream. And that's why he said, not only does that prophet going to be destroyed, but his flock is going to be scattered. Verse 15, therefore thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that prophesy in my name, and I sent them not. Yet say they, sword and famine shall not be in this land. Is that not what he was saying? Everything that MLK was preaching, that Martin Luther King was preaching, was peace. We can be peaceful. We can, get back to American roots. We can all be equal the way that it's written in the Constitution. We can all work together. The crooked places will be made straight. The rough places will be made plain. The glory of the Lord shall be revealed. All flesh are going to see it together. We are going to march forward together. He prophesied of peace. I don't ever see him saying America is going to be destroyed for keeping God's children in captivity. I don't ever see him saying the wicked have to, he that slayeth with the sword will be slain with the sword. The wicked must be judged. You don't hear him saying that. He was preaching peace. We could all do it together. The human race, we're all created equal. He says, yet they say, sword and famine shall not be in the land. By sword and famine shall those prophets be consumed. And for all of these leaders, how did they die? They died by the modern day sword, the trigger. So many of them were killed. They were shot. They sitting up here talking about this war, this chaos, this famine is not going to come. He said, by those very things are you going to be destroyed. By those very things will you be consumed. Let's go over to Jeremiah chapter 23. 23. Verse 31. We're going to read 31 and 32. He says, behold, I am against the prophets, saith the Lord, that use their tongues and say, he saith. He said, man, I'm tired of them saying out of their own mouths, saying that the Lord said it. That's why I say it's become common. And it's crazy how much of sin and wickedness our people are always buying into. But it's constantly being sold. All this, these little sayings that become popular. Most High says, swear not, neither by heaven, by the things. Don't swear by my name. Everybody be, on God. I'm telling you, it was like, man, what on God. Like, you swearing falsely. A reviler. The scriptures say, 1 Corinthians 6 and 9, that all these different things cannot make it into the kingdom. And when you get to revilers, talking about somebody verbally abusive. But that's common ground. Man, we talk about it all the time. Hop on a Call of Duty lobby. Get online. Get somewhere where people don't think that they can be held accountable. They get to hide behind a profile picture and a chosen name. Ain't nobody going by their real identity. People can be savage. People that talk about anything. F your mama, F your this. You a beaner, you nigger, and whoop-de-whoop. It'll be all type of stuff. All because they sitting there behind, wherever they are comfortable. All these, they're wherever they are, whatever it is that they're doing, they good. They comfortable. So you see all this chaos, all these things that have constantly been just made commonplace. So it's so common now for these preachers, for these, because we don't know prophets, or rather, we haven't known prophets for so long amongst our people. We had a lot of false saviors. We had a lot of people saying, follow me. The Panthers, MLK, Malcolm X. It's not this lesson is not going to highlight him specifically, but he was another false Christ, another false savior. The honorable, all these different leaders and all these different, titles and things that you've given them, but they're false prophets, prophesying lies in the name of the Most High. Prophesying lies. And it's become commonplace that God told me to tell you. It's become commonplace for someone to speak in the name of the Most High. It's become commonplace for people to believe that they're being led of the Lord. Make it feel like anybody could do it. You very rarely see people getting visited by celestial beings in the scriptures. Now, it's a compilation of these stories, but it's rare. It's hundreds or thousands of years of history, and you only see angels here and there. Thousands of years of history, you only see people getting visited by celestial beings here and there. Oftentimes, not even of the same generation or the same captivity. But yet everybody thinks that they're seeing angels. Everybody thinks that they speak with prophets. Everybody thinks that they're being ministered unto by a godly being. It's a lot of Satan out here. Verse 32, it says, behold, I am against them that prophesy false dreams. I had a dream last night, bro. I'm trying to tell you, man, stay in the house today. I had a dream last night that you went to work, and when you got out of work, the first thing happened, you got shot and died. Don't go to work today. For real? Man, it must have been like from God or something. And it's so, our people can really sell something. We really put life into things, and we be having people believe in things. Have ourselves believe in things. Man, this really must be what's about to happen. No evidence. No evidence. No, assurance. Just be like, man, I'm trying to tell you, this is what it is. I saw it in a dream. That's what the Most High say. You regard dreams, you're a fool. And you see a lot of the men that were chosen the Most High, they was like, me? Okay, you see with Gideon in the 300. He was like, I need proof. I'm not saying I doubt the Most High. He was like, I just want to make sure. And he went, I think it was 3 nights he asked the Most High for a sign just to be able to be sure that he was really who was chosen. And every time it happened, he said, all right, I'm going to go do it. You see Yahushua get reassurance. You see the heavens open up, a dove come, and the Most High speaking, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. We're not seeing those kind of signs and wonders for all these people claiming to be prophets. We're not seeing them being able to move mountains within their own lives or even speak of faith. They talking about everything that you can do for them. And when the scriptures tell you that, the higher up you are, the bigger of a servant that you're going to be, it should be nothing but community leaders out in the corners of the streets helping people. Performing miracles in the church, go to a hospital. Don't perform it amongst the believers. They don't need the physician if that's what it really is. Go perform amongst those that have given up hope. Go to the children's hospital. Them kids that's confused and they going through things, and you lay your hands on them and rise something up. Oh, okay, hold on. Might be something going on. They always talking about these dreams and these visions and all these things that they be seeing, and when is it going to come to pass? It says, behold, I am against them that prophesy false dreams, saith the Lord, and do tell them, and cause my people to err by their lies, and by their lightness, yet I sent them not, nor commanded them. Therefore they shall not profit this people at all, saith the Lord. So the Most High was like, look, I'm not dealing with them. Don't listen to them. And let's go to Matthew chapter 24. Chapter 24 and verse 12. It says, but he answered, I'm sorry, Matthew 24 and 12. He said, verse 11, and many false prophets shall arise and shall deceive many. Matter of fact, let's jump up. Verse 5, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. So we always look at that as people who deliberately say outrightly that they are Christ. When we see both, right, we see there are people, there have been a number of instances within, just look up from the 90s, 1990 to about 2000, 2005. There were a number of people who, some of them, they look like, Cesare Borgia, because that's not the true image of Christ, right? Christ is spoken of in the Bible as a dark-skinned man. It said that he was so dark that his feet looked as if they had burned in a furnace. Dark-skinned. We have this white image of Jesus up, and so many people were misled because it was a white man with a beard and some long, stringy hair with that white robe and that red little thing going across it, in Africa, saying that he was Christ, saying that he was the Messiah come back, and so many people followed him. It was one in Brazil, and he had people tattooing 3 6s on themselves. The scriptures talk about, like, that's the number, right, of, I believe, can't remember exactly what it said, but you know that it's clearly revolving around Satan. Can't remember the exact association that was given, but it talks about the 3 6s. And he had people tattooing it on themselves, back of the ear, their ankles, some across their chest, because he was like, when you do this, you give it no power. He had a lot of people. It wasn't like it was something crazy. It was a multitude of people that were following him, getting tattoos and life-altering changes, all because they believed this man saying that he was Christ. But ultimately, what does Christ mean, right? He who saves, the anointed Savior. So many people are coming claiming to be a savior. MLK, Malcolm X, the Panthers, the Berets, all those other, civil rights groups. The NAACP and the all these little governments, the youth NAACP, all these different groups that are rising up in the name of a savior, looking to lead people. We know the way. We have a plan. Follow us. Because that's ultimately what it is. They're saying, and everybody has their own plan, right? We're going to do it through affirmative action. They see we serious. We kill one of theirs. If they kill one of us, we're going to kill one of theirs. They'll stop. That's our plan. Another one is government. We need to infiltrate the government, and we need to, put these people in positions where we can defend ourselves. Then another one. Everybody got their own different plan, but they're all giving you the idea of, if we can do this, you will be saved. That's what they're selling. They're selling that they can save you. Follow me. I got a plan, and it's going to work. This going to get us, it's going to change our situation. It's going to change our captivity. All these people who have come up, some claiming to be Christ, some coming in the name of Christ, but all false saviors. Because all of them have come up. Many have died, and where are people? Still in captivity, still stuck. Still in the same place that we were promised to be delivered from. You got some people in government, they use them like props to get them smiling. Hey, get up there, smile. They got the black man in the back. He just smiling and cheesing, bald-headed, no beard, just as soft as he can be and as non-threatening as he can be. Selling you the idea of peace. And then you see another black man and be like, or another brown, another Israelite, and be like, oh, maybe that's the way. He all right. All of these people that are coming and selling peace, selling that they could save. But what do the scriptures talk about, right? Let's get a couple precepts on that. As far as how we're supposed to deal with the heathen and how we're supposed to have peace. Let's go to 1 Ezra, chapter 8. 1 Ezra, chapter 8. We're going to read verse 82 through 85. And now, O Lord, 1 Ezra 8 and 82, and now, O Lord, what shall we say, having these things? For we have transgressed thy commandments, which thou gavest by the hand of thy servants, the prophets, saying that the land which ye enter into to possess as an heritage is a land polluted with the pollutions of the strangers of the land. So, first and foremost, that's how we can also go to 2 Ezra 6, 52 through 56. The Most High said the heathen are as nothing. And he says when they were in our land, it polluted the land. They have pollutions. So that's how the Most High is feeling about the heathen. He never said that we were all equal. Matter of fact, let's go to it. Let's hold this. Read it out of the scriptures. 2 Ezra chapter 6, verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all. So it's no secret, right? Everybody can trace their lineage. Everyone that's living right now can trace their lineage back to Adam, right? And really, you can also trace it back to Shem, Ham, and Japheth. But before that, he said it was Adam, right? He says, of him come we all. We all came out of, the lineage of Adam. He said, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. There was a separation between everyone that exists and the chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. The world was made for Israel. It's crazy how we've gone to, a place of feeling like we're all created equal, feeling like we're even worse than that. Oftentimes, we don't even view ourselves as human. We view ourselves as less. Call each other N's and B's, demeaning and belittling titles. All these things in the world was made for our sakes. He said, as for the other people, which also came of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. He said, even the abundance of them is like a drop that falls from a vessel. All of them. He was like, man, you can take all of them, and it's like a drop. You ever drink a water bottle? And when you get out of water, you untwist the top, it'd be like that last little drop in there. Ain't nobody stressed about that. No one is emptying water bottles trying to get every little drop, hoping to be able to. We're not worried about that. Once you get the substance, you throw away the vessel, right? That's how the Most High said he's viewing all the heathen. He views them, he's like, man, they ain't nothing to me. And he said when they were in our land, they were polluting our land. First Ezra, we're going back to chapter 8, verse 83. That the land which ye enter into to possess as an heritage is a land polluted with the pollutions of the strangers of the land, and they have filled it with their uncleanness. Unclean. That's how the Most High is viewing the heathen. And they ain't nothing they can do to become clean. They're always unclean. They're always abominable in his sight. That's how the Most High feels about the heathen. So, of course, they're going to be the ones to say all men are created equal. Yeah, all y'all. Because all y'all, according to the Most High, are worthless collectively. That's not so with Israel. He said we're the chosen, the apple of his eye. That's not so for us. That's literally what it means to be holy. Holy means to be set apart. And that's why the Most High was big on clean and unclean. Put a separation between the clean and the unclean. That's why we have our own land. We had our own customs, our own law, separate from the other nations. And if there were strangers and heathen that live amongst us, they had to conform. They couldn't just be in there doing whatever, setting up groves, worshiping idols. That could not be an option in our land. He says, therefore, this is how the Most High is saying to deal with the strangers. Therefore now shall ye not join your daughters unto their sons, neither shall ye take their daughters unto your sons. There is no interracial marriage. There is no interracial marriage. So many of our people have bought into that. I saw Israelite. I'm talking about an awakened, from what I know, Sabbath keeping, fringe wearing Israelite talking about if a heathen woman accepts me, I'll accept. He was posting this on Facebook. I assume that the brother was going through something as far as within a personal gripe, but that's never going to be an option for Israel. It's not going to be an option for us to take heathen as wives, or for us to give our daughters unto their sons for husbands. The Most High said that's not supposed. I don't want y'all to be intermingling with them. I don't want them to be your children to be part them, part you. I want them to be all Israelite. He says, moreover, he said, not only are y'all not going to marry your sons and your daughters, he said, moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them. This is out of the Bible. The Most High said, when you're looking at these other nations, never seek to have peace. Because they have, in war, they have what's called a, it can only it can only end one of three ways. There's a victor, or rather one of two ways. But there's a victor, there's those that were defeated, and there's a surrender. And if there's a surrender, it's usually conditional or unconditional, which basically means that they have conditions that they have to meet. So in some instances, they would say, okay, we'll pull out of your land, stop destroying, we'll stop the bombings, we'll withdraw our soldiers, but you can never create these type of weapons. You can never stand against us like this. And once you're on the side of the defeated, what can you do? You can't even get to a position of ever getting strong enough to fight your oppressor off, because you have conditions of your surrender that keep you within a certain limit. And if those conditions are ever violated, the war starts again. So the Most High was like, don't seek peace, because that means y'all going to have to surrender, or you're going to have to give them some kind of conditions. Don't even seek peace with them. If you can live peaceably with all men, that's fine. But they stay over there and we be over here. They go to their land or to wherever it is that they reside, and we stay within our borders. It says, ye shall never seek to have peace with them, that ye may be strong. So many of the things that the Most High wanted us to do is for our sake. It's for our health. It's literally like when he calls us the children of Israel, we literally are instructed like a child. Don't eat that. You get told when you was a kid, you can't have candy before dinner. You're going to spoil your dinner. You're like, oh, man. But then you get older, you be able to eat whatever you want to. You start having health complications, start, having dental issues, all these things that were embedded in us for our sakes. Most High said the same thing for the children of Israel. These laws are for our sakes. We're not supposed to seek peace with the heathen, not only because the Most High said he doesn't want us to be giving our sons and our daughters, and that's what's going to happen if we have too much peace, but he said it's also so that you can be strong. Ever since we've been integrated, you tell somebody you are a child of the Most High, you are one of the chosen of the nation of Israel, they're going to say, what about the white man? I can't tell you how many times brothers have heard that on the corner and on the streets, and it be mind-blowing. You lived 30 years of your life thinking you was a nigga, a street nigga at that. Tattoos all up the arms, all on the back, and it. Like, man, you've been really going through it out here. You've been surviving, and now you're a product of this environment. We come in with hope. After all these years of hearing that you're worthless, we're telling you that you are not only worth something, but you're the most special people upon the earth. And the first thing out of a brother's mouth will be, what about the white man? I don't care. Like that, you literally are saying in that moment, I don't care about being chosen. I don't care about being free. I don't care about ruling. I don't care about being special if he can't be it too. That's literally what that's saying. That's all that that's saying, because it's, what about the white man? You're special, but what about him? What does it matter? So you scratch off a lottery ticket. You about to start telling everybody in the store, we won? I won. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you are able to give and be charitable, of course, but it's not about all these other nations. It's not about what we can do for them. That's not why they're here. That's not why we're here. You know what we give them? We give them an example of a righteous nation so that they can say, look at this wise and understanding people who have God so nigh unto them. That's what they should be able to get. And that's one thing that most people lack, is a great example. Oftentimes, we want to go do things. We want to take on incredible feats, but we've never seen it done. So it's a certain lack of faith within ourselves because we don't even know if it's possible. We give the other nations that hope. They can look at Israel and say, wow, look at this wise and understanding people. Our murder rate is out of control. We have all these different gods. We have all these different philosophies and, different ideologies. But they got it all together with one God, with one law, with one name of all their people. They're a wise and understanding people. That's what we give the other nations. But this is oftentimes, these are all the things that we've given up, not wanting or not knowing that we are Israel, being spoiled through that philosophy. He said, moreover, ye shall never seek to have peace with them, that ye may be strong and eat the good things of the land, and that ye may leave the inheritance of the land unto your children forevermore. Not only are we going to be strong, we go to war, you got Edomites in your family. It's kind of like, whose side am I on? Mom's side is all snow bunnies, but dad's side is out the trenches. You got a choice to make because you feel like somewhat connected. You feel, tied in. You feel like your loyalty is split. It was never supposed to be that way. It's still not supposed to be that way. It says, and that ye may leave an inheritance of the land unto your children forevermore. What happens if you give an Israelite woman, black, brown, whatever term we go by, you give an Israelite woman unto an Edomite, unto a Chinese man, unto an Arab, what's going to happen? That's your only daughter. You got a mansion. You done made $12 million of wealth in your life, multiple businesses, multiple houses, all these things to be able to give, and then you give it to your daughter, who's going to do what? She's going to give it unto her heathen husband. There go 12 million right back into the Chinese, the Arab, the whatever community. There goes the inheritance lost out of Israel. Oftentimes, there are people who are in authority that are able to make things happen. Not everybody in Israel was rich. But when you have somebody with a massive land and they follow the laws of gleaning, you have a lot of people that can come and eat because there's so much farmland. You have a lot that can be given because somebody's wealthy. It oftentimes don't take a million people. You need a solid few, a faithful few to be able to do so much. But because our inheritances are going to the heathen, we have to, every generation of our people is building wealth from the ground up. You start off poor, and by the time you become an adult, hopefully you got a plan because you got to go figure it out before you repeat the cycle with your children. Otherwise, they're going to start off poor, and they're going to start all over again and again and again. And you got Edomites, Tuesday, 8 a.m., they at the grocery store with their reusable bags, trust fund babies. Ain't worked a day in their life because they already getting $2,000, $4,000, $10,000 a month from their great somebody that has set up a trust fund. What is the name of that family? What is it? Not the Gettys. Griffith, right? Griffith Company, Griffith Observatory, Griffith Park. Huge, a massively wealthy family, all because they're, however many generations, they're great. Somebody's grandfather gave them $1 million that they could never touch. $1 million that is constantly compounding interest, reinvesting within itself, and then paying them dividends. That fund is at a massive amount. They have landmarks and companies, places where they can just pour money into because they just have so much. And it's constantly generating more revenue. That's how it should be. But you have to be able to have an inheritance to give unto your people in order to make them that strong. But our inheritances are going to the heathen. They're going to the other nations. They're being given unto our enemies. All because we're intermingling and seeking peace. Most High said, man, I don't want you to have peace with them. Have peace with your brother. Have peace with your people. Then you can, you sit in by the wayside and say, how you doing? We at peace. I don't need to be at your house every day. We at peace. I don't need to come kick it with you all the time. We at peace. I don't need to come keep a feast day. Oh, what y'all doing? Oh, we getting the lamb for Passover. Can I come? No. You got what you got over there. We got what we got. We have our covenant. We have the law. We have the service of God. You stay in your land. Deuteronomy chapter 7. It says, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land, 7:1, into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee. So the first thing was, when we entered our land, the other nations had to go. The Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. That's how the Most High wanted us to deal with the heathen. Get them out of there. Kill anybody who's not willing to leave. Destroy all of them. And not just that, he said, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me. So even when you don't have the inheritance, let's just say you have an Israelite son, right? He grows up to be a man. He takes on an Edomite wife. Okay, the inheritance is going to go to his children who are technically Israelites. But guess what? She into all these different things. She into crystals. Baby, wear your crystal. Where's your crystal today? You're giving me bad vibes. Have you been wearing your crystals? So you keep this little crystal on your chest and you wearing it, and everywhere you going, you feel like the crystal energy is blessing you. You've been turned unto idols. You've been turned unto something that can't save you, that's not going to judge you, that's deaf and dumb. I done heard, and it's crazy because it's a whole lot of those influences amongst our people already. What is that? The Bloody Mary, Candyman, kids going in the bathroom middle of the night saying incantations in the mirror. I remember when we was kids, I don't know where it came from. I don't know where the story came from. I don't know where, but we knew about Bloody Mary. All the kids want to go into the bathroom late at night, sitting in the mirror, say this 3 times and this is going to happen. You get all these other influences. Ouija boards, that is not of our people. You see that all the time in the movies, but you really be seeing white folks they really be with the Ouija boards. They having a good time. They like, man, we having a great time, huh? Let's bust out the old Ouija board. No, sir, it's time to go. But all these influences are amongst our people. They sell Ouija boards at Target, Walmart, $20. This board, to be able to speak to spirits, to be able to speak to whatever is willing to talk back to you, is $20, readily available, right in the hood. Right at Target, right at Walmart. You go for family game night, you like, man, we've seen it in the movies. It's commonplace. Let's get a Ouija board. Really in your house summoning demons. Because you have the influence of the other nations upon you. And because their customs and their ways are readily available. And because they're not being condemned and there are no leaders amongst us to say, this is not of us, our people are just getting into anything and everything. Just finding stuff to do, finding stuff to believe in. All of our people that's believing in the ancestors, and there's all these different philosophies that have come up. He said, the heathen are going to turn us away from the Most High. You praying to your ancestors. Even if you sit up here and be like, ancestors guide me, that's a prayer. You're not sitting up there, you're not talking to the Most High. You're sitting up here taking a moment to yourself or speaking lowly, gathering your energy or your spirit, whatever the case may be, and you're hoping to talk to someone who can assist you, putting your hope in that thing, whether it be a crystal, whether it be a spirit, whether it be an ancestor, and none of those things are of our people. We get a battery yacht. None of those things are of our people. Those are influences of these other nations. The only God we've ever served, or the only God we should have ever served, is Yahweh. The God of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's the only God we should know. But our people know, Christianity. We know Islam. We know Buddhism. We know the universe. We know the ancestors. We know all these different things and all these different ideas. Nash. Okay, kind of. And one of the things is you have to remember, actually, I'm sorry. Verse 4, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. Verse 5, but thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. That's how the Most High said we need to deal with the heathen. He said, cast them out of your land. Destroy the ones that won't leave. Don't make marriages. Don't seek peace. And destroy what they left behind. Destroy all these gods, lest you be tempted. Man, this is a nice temple. Yeah, they had a nice little something set up. It was like they would put a sacrifice up at the top, and then it will bless somebody at the bottom. Well, we should keep that. No, Most High was like, destroy the whole building. I don't want y'all in there. Destroy that. They built a grove and got a statue in the middle of their God. Cut the grove down. Break apart that image and burn it. He says, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. He said, because you're holy. I didn't make you to be like that. I made you holy. You're separate. So you got to get rid of all of these other things from the heathen and all these other things from these other nations, because you're holy. You're set apart. You're not like them. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So we're never supposed to make peace with our enemies and with the heathen. And ultimately, you have to remember, Esau hates us. That be our people's primary care and our primary concern when it comes to the heathen. That be, every man. And it's like, ultimately, Esau is already spoken for. Esau, the scriptures have already told you what it's going to be. I just want to read this real quick. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 8. Shall not I in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. I don't see too many of the civil rights movement, of what Martin Luther King was preaching, to be about us integrating with the Arabs. It was never about us like, oh, we can't use certain gas stations. I don't really see that. We can't, get the orange chicken and the chow mein that we really want. I don't see that. You see whites only. And that was the main, let's keep it real. That was the only person that our people were really seeking acceptance from, was the white man. That was the only person that we were really trying to make peace with, was the white man. That was the only person that our people were willing to get punched, kicked, bitten, sprayed, all these different things to be able to be at peace with, was the white man. It was Esau. That was the only person that we was really looking for that peace from. The whole time the scriptures are telling you, he hates you. And he's supposed to be cut off by slaughter because of all the violence that he's perpetrated against our people. Out of all the heathen that have made wars with us, how many times do we read about the Canaanites, the Philistines? Goliath was a Philistine. Everyone knows the story, David and Goliath. That was a Philistine. Samson, the Philistines. And the Canaanites, the African nations, right? But, you see Moab having us in captivity. You see Ishmael buying Joseph. You see all these different offenses by the heathen, but the only one that was like, you got to go forever, was Esau. And that'd be the main person that our people are concerned about. That's the Most High already showed us we're not supposed to have or, be seeking that peace with the heathen. Not to that degree, because it's never unconditional. It always comes with a certain restraint, a certain law that we don't live by. Let's get some judgment. This is going to be the last thing. We'll hold this. You can read it, Revelation 13 and 10. He that leads into captivity shall be led into captivity. So the judgment for this nation, because they have led our people into captivity and continue to oppress us. And it's crazy because they know it. It's not a secret. These people who come from these other nations, it's not a secret. We talked to a brother maybe a couple months ago. He was from, I can't remember exactly where, Nigeria or Ethiopia, but he was from the southern parts of Africa, and he was like out of the lineage of Ham. He had grew up knowing who his people were. He was like, and the brother asked him, who are the real Jews? Who are the chosen of God? He said, you are. He said it before all of our faces. Like, yeah, we were taught that history from our youth. Everybody knows they're Israel but Israel. Everybody wants to be Israel but Israel. Sirach, chapter 12. Okay, that's what I was going to say. I'm sorry, one more point to make because it's just mind-blowing. So they led us into captivity. They have to go into captivity. They killed with the sword. They must be killed with the sword. And they know these stories. How many movies have they made about the Bible? Passion of the Christ, Prince of Egypt. Man, they done made so many movies, and it's like every so often they come out with a new one. They come out with a new rendition of America's hottest stars, hottest white stars, to be able to portray our forefathers and foremothers as these white men and women. So even when you think of greatness, you're going to think of white folks. You think of celebrities, businessmen, heroes, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern. All you think of heroes, you think of white. You think of great, you think of white. You think of God, you think of white. You see all these different correlations that they made, and they know that the scriptures are real, but to be able to water it down and defame it, they give you movies about everything. The gods of Egypt. They paint their gods out and make them in an incredible likeness with all this CGI to make you really feel some type of way hearing about, these gods. They give you Shazam and Black Adam and the Justice League because then you see these movies of Passion of the Christ and these people who essentially had superpowers and they seem a little more fictitious. A man that can part the sea? You mean Aquaman? You see all these different things that have happened, and they already know what it is. That's what the Most High said. At the end of the day, they need judgment. And the judgment for leading into captivity is captivity. And the judgment for being a murderer is death. Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. He said, never trust your enemy. It's your enemy. That's how Simon Maccabeus was killed, right? What was it? They were at a banquet with Romans. They had been invited. They kind of had their relationships and their peaceful interactions and exchanges. They had him at a dinner and closed him in and killed him. And I believe it was Mattathias, where he walked in the gate. They shut the gate behind him and killed him and his men. So you never trust your enemy. You think it's all good. They speaking fair. They speaking peace. It ain't really peace. They're your enemies forever. We like to be at peace. Israel, we like to chill. It said Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. We like to have things be simple and, we like a certain system. We don't like to deal with a whole lot of the extras. We're Israel. When you're dealing with the other nations, they with the extras. They'll be with the long game. Esau might not even arrest somebody the day of. They might not even take down the big guy because they're like, look, really, you just a shot caller. We need everybody that's below you that's really moving. So they'll make you an informant. You get to stay out. You get to stay free, but we need you to start setting things up. Coming in wearing wires. They going to play the long game. He said, never trust them because they devising something. All these declassified files that they putting out 20, 30 years later of, biological experiments they conducted on people. The Tuskegee experiment. They told them people at the time they was getting a vaccine. Talking about the Tuskegee experiment. They told them that they were giving them something that was going to help them and were actually conducting an experiment on the effects of syphilis. Infected a whole bunch of people with an STD just to see what would happen. You have cases against the state of California, but against a number of states in the U.S. for sterilization, which is basically to make someone infertile. I saw an ad the other day that the state is still trying to track down people who were made infertile through, some of them were through prison. And while they were in prison, they were given a medical procedure that rendered them sterile. They call it sterile, but it's infertile. They literally take away the ability to have children. He said, never trust your enemy. All these things that they claim and that they give you is to destroy you. He says, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So two things. First and foremost, it seems like iron is going to rust regardless. It don't matter what kind of conditions you try to have it in. You could have it off the ground and, suspended by some wood, hanging for something. Iron is going to rust. As soon as it gets exposed to air, it starts somewhere rusting a little bit. And over time, it just gets worse and worse. So this is something that's unpreventable, right? But not only that, usually when metal starts rusting, you can't stop it. You can slow the process down. You have the Rust-Oleum, the paint. You have these processes. You can maybe even knock some rust off. You can maybe restore it and replenish it, start it all over. But you can never prevent it or stop it entirely from rusting. That's how our enemy is. You might be able to restore them. They get a chance and they want to give me another one. Yeah, but it's going to happen again. It's going to rust. It don't matter how you treat it or what you do to it, it's going to rust. He said your enemies are just like that. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass. And then thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. You're never going to change him. That's what our people have been doing for generations. Trying to change these people, trying to change our enemies, trying to change the dynamic. It's not going to change. He said, and though he humble himself, don't they always do that? They always be cool. They be cool at the job. What's up, man? What's your name? This and that. You need a light? So you coming out here to smoke? You need a light? No problem. They be cool as ever. Let something go down. They see an opportunity to overthrow you. Something broke in the break room. They saw you walk away from it. They got the information. Something come up missing. You look like a potential. They're gonna do their investigation. And they're going to do whatever it takes to be able to overthrow you. He says, set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Never let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat. And thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. We wanted to be able to sit at their seat so badly so that we can go to restaurants and have a table full of Esau and then a table of Jakes right next to it. That was our big goal. And what has it gotten us? Now they profiting off the hood. They come up and set up shop. They got the other heathen setting up shop. Esau takes a piece of all of it. They have overthrown us. I don't need this one. Proverbs 26 and 25. It says, when he speaks fair, believe him not. So we've had all these petitions come out that there was going to be peace. We see all these different ways that things were going to change. And, we've been given stimulus money. We've been given promises. We've been reassured and all these different things, but nothing has really changed. They speak fair. They make it seem like hope is coming, and it does not come because it was never in the plan. All the while, they continue to find ways to destroy us, even from the womb, seeking a way to destroy our people with the food, with the air, with our living conditions, with the stress, what you see on your TV, what you see on your phone, the algorithms that are created to be able to only let you access a certain range of information. You wonder why people are so closed-minded. All these things Esau is doing in the background. And you have defectors coming out of Esau, developers from Google, developers from YouTube, Facebook. You had Edward Snowden come out and be like, look, these are all the things that are happening behind the scene. Even though America is the home of the brave and the land of the free, they plotting on everybody. Watch that movie. If you've never seen the movie Snowden, watch it. Because he talked about all the government agencies, the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, how they were planting, basically just a lot of the secrets of the government and how they were infiltrating these other countries' infrastructures to be able to take them down whenever they need it. Esau Cole, what have you meeting at these peace summits? Everybody smiling for the camera, shaking hands, taking their pictures. Everybody looks like everything's cool, but all the while, they just waiting. Say something. I'll push this button. It'll take us all out. They waiting. They got snipers on the roof. We're going to shake his hand right here where this little opening is. You shake his hand by this window. I'll make the shot. He's speaking fair. But don't believe him. Last thing. Because ultimately, right? So all of these things, to tie it all back together, all of these things, a lot of these ideologies have been given to us, but not just been given to us, they were given to us by our own. Because we don't believe anybody the same way that we believe Israel. And that's not necessarily to a fault of ours, because the prophets were of our people, the judges were of our people. So oftentimes we don't really like to hear things unless it's coming from our people. So you'll see Esau come out. They look a certain way. They ain't never had struggle in their life, talking about food stamp benefits and Section 8 housing. They don't really know what that's like. They creating laws about these things that are really going to affect us, but they smile up there with their suits and $400,000 annual salary. They'll never be governed by the laws that they put in place. And so when Martin Luther King Jr., after everything that he did, and he finally got it to where integration was really becoming a thing, he said something about it, about the results that he was seeing. It says, according to Belafonte, King responded, I've come upon something that disturbs me deeply. We have fought hard and long for integration, as I believe we should have, and I know we will win. But I have come to believe that we are integrating into a burning house. A burning house. We want to get in the house so bad, and you get in there and realize it's on fire and you need to get out, but you just fought so hard to get in. You might not make it out. He said, I'm afraid that America has lost the moral vision she may have had, and I'm afraid that even as we integrate, we are walking into a place that does not understand that this nation needs to be deeply concerned with the plight of the poor and disenfranchised, who is often who? Us. Scriptures tell you, get thee to them of the captivity. We're the poor, we're the disenfranchised, we're in the hoods, we're the cursed, we're the disadvantaged. And that's why I say, oftentimes, we don't care about the politicians and the government and all that kind of stuff, because we know that they will never be under those laws that they're creating. But you get you an Israelite up there, you got to look a certain way. But you get one of us up there, and then it's like, oh, he knows. Maybe it's not that bad. If he's willing to be up there and he's willing to, rub shoulders and bump elbows or whatever one it is, maybe it's some merit to what's being said. The king was telling you, he said, man, I think we may have messed up big time. He said that this nation is not concerned with the plight of the poor and the disenfranchised. They don't care. But now, even though they don't care about our plight, they benefit from it. All these movies that benefit from trauma, all these stores that benefit from, poor people. And we don't have a whole lot, but we have a lot of little. We be living paycheck to paycheck, but we get them paychecks often. Twice a month, you can expect to see an Israelite somewhere. And let us save up a little money. We're going to buy the Jordans. We got to go to the gas station. We're going to the corner store, the liquor store. We're getting the Black and Milds. We're getting the chili cheese Fritos from the liquor store. We're getting our snacks and our cookies and our candy. We buying food. We buy a lot of these things so they know where to come and set up shop. Getting the eyebrows done, $7. You get it done every week, $30 per customer per month. And it's always booming. Walking these little Chinese shops. What you want? You want nail? You want that? You know how they be talking. You walk in there, you get what you get real quick. They be done plucked you up and got you looking, and they send you out on your way. Next customer. They don't care about you, but they're going to profit from you. He said, until we commit ourselves to ensuring that the underclass is given justice and opportunity. He never said it was our people, but who's the most impoverished? Who's the underclass? As a whole, he said, we will continue to perpetuate the anger and violence that tears the soul of this nation. I fear I am integrating my people into a burning house. He said it again. So this is Martin Luther King Jr., realizing the error of his own way, like, man, he was realizing his own error and realizing that everything that he was hoping and calling for, wasn't all that it was caked up to be, but it was already too late. He had given our people the dream. He had given our people the idea. He had given our people the hope that we could change Esau, that we could change this nation, that we could someday, if we just tried hard enough, if we just went long enough, we could be equal and free in this land. To this day, our people are marching with picket signs and chants. To this day, our people are getting involved in government and parliament and hoping to change things from the inside. To this day, our people view themselves as equal with everybody else, hoping to be, cherished or cared for the way that we care for this nation. We're constantly looking for it over and over. He gave it to the generation of that time, which gave it to their children, so on and so forth. And here we are, still in the same nation, still pleading for justice, still marching, and still hoping. So that's going to conclude tonight's lesson, Israel. I hope this has been edifying as far as false prophets, as far as, all the things that this nation has done and continues to do. And, if it was real leadership, they wouldn't have given us a day to commemorate and celebrate. I don't see America focusing and giving us time off for the Feast of Dedication. I don't see America focusing and giving us time off for Passover or for, Pentecost or any of our holy days. Not for the Memorial of Simon. It's not even on the calendar. You don't know who that is until you come into the truth and read the scriptures for yourself. They're not giving us they're not giving us commemorations of real leaders. They're giving us commemorations of what we hope or what they hope that we continue to buy into. MLK Day. You automatically going to have some type of, happiness associated with MLK because you get a day off from work. Oftentimes, you paid. You get to be free, and everybody comes together. You'd be so grateful. All the while, they have a saying, never interrupts your enemy when he's making a mistake. So as we continue to celebrate, Esau's never going to, give us anything else or make us none the wiser because we're making a mistake. But please continue to tune in with us, Israel. We appreciate all of the support. We have classes Tuesday, Wednesday, the 2nd and 4th, Thursday, 7:30 p.m., Friday, 7:30 p.m., and on the Sabbath at 4:30. And with that, we say Shalom.
Mixed on the